Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here in this wonderful venue and at this wonderful conference and event. I'm going to talk about the future of automotive from Qualcomm's perspective. And I think it's fair to say that when you look at the future of the automotive and the automobile, you're looking at the future of urban mobility. And why do I say that? It's because the future is going to be driven by the challenges that need to be solved. And when one looks at the vehicles that drive on highways, there aren't really many societal challenges that need to be solved. The vehicles will need to be increasingly cleaner, more affordable, safer, and so forth. But that's very evolutionary from where we are today with respect to the automobile. Where we see disruptive innovation occurring is more and more in the urban space, where the challenges facing the automobile are becoming more and more acute and profound, especially in emerging megacities and congested zones. So as you look at the trends and the challenges facing the automobile, they're most acute in urban areas. So whether it's to do with energy and environmental issues, safety or congestion, parking, affordability and access for disabled and aged, all of these challenges are magnified in the urban context, and we need a different solution, which is where the autonomous, connected, electrified vehicle comes into play, and where we may begin to see disruption in the business model with respect to mobility as a service. And how do all of these different technologies help solve the challenges in urban mobility? Well, the electric vehicle, especially a battery electric vehicle, can really help to reduce local air quality challenges or local air emissions. And the energy is provided by renewable sources, ideally, and it can also have a significant impact on greenhouse gas emissions. Connectivity is something that basically helps all vehicles. It can help vehicles to avoid collisions with each other. It can help electric vehicles with respect to finding charging stations more easily. It can help to improve range by having a better understanding of the best terrain, the best route to take to reduce energy consumption. When one looks at autonomous, the main driver initially for autonomous vehicles is safety improvements, but as you get to fully autonomous, the true benefit becomes mobility for those who currently don't have it, like the aged and the disabled. And mobility as a service is something that is providing a lot of benefit for people who can't afford to own a car, or where the cost of ownership is problematic and the hassles of driving a car and parking it become more of a challenge. So we see all of these vectors having a role to play in shaping the future of the automobile, especially in the context of urban mobility. So I want to look at the electric portion, because the emphasis of this event is around Formula E and electric vehicles. What are the synergies between these different trends? If you look at electric vehicles, they have a benefit in terms of providing more design flexibility than traditional internal combustion engine vehicles. If you have an internal combustion engine vehicle, there's a limit on how small the vehicle can be, because the passengers are sitting behind the engine, which takes up a certain amount of real estate at the front of the vehicle. With electric vehicles, you can have a skateboard, you can have a much shorter vehicle that's easier to park, provides more design freedom, more safety. It can be a bit taller because it has a skateboard, but that's not an issue in urban places. So you have a taller, shorter vehicle, which is enabled by electric powertrain. It also enables wheel motors that can allow the vehicle to turn on a dime, which again is a type of functionality that's really helpful in dense urban areas for parking and tight street corners and so forth. So electric propulsion is an enabler not only for environmental benefits, but for different types of form factors for the vehicles that are well suited to urban environments. What are the synergies between electric and connected? I mentioned it before in the sense that it's able to find parking spaces more easily, able to find the best route, able to find where the best shared vehicle is that might be electric. So connectivity is really a huge enabler for mobility of all kinds, as we all know from Uber, which probably wouldn't exist without connectivity, but the business model there is enabled by connectivity. When one looks at autonomous vehicles that can park themselves, there's a real synergy with wireless charging. And I would argue that if you have wireless charging and automated parking, you can increase the utilization of that charging infrastructure. I mean, how many of us have parked a car at the airport for a week, and if it was an electric vehicle, it might be charged within a few hours, but nobody else can use that parking spot for that whole week. If you have automated vehicles that can park, and you have a certain section of the parking infrastructure dedicated to this fleet of vehicles, they could move out of the way and allow another vehicle to park, and you could have close to 100% utilization of that same charging spot, which would dramatically reduce the cost of the infrastructure rollout for autonomous and electrified vehicles. And then if you think about mobility as a service, one of the challenges that face electric vehicle adoption today is typically concerns about range anxiety and cost. Those issues go away when you have a shared vehicle, because now all you're worried about is the vehicle able to take you to where you want to go, and you're not trying to think about all the possible use cases you might need for a car. So you could have a fleet of vehicles today in an urban environment. 80% of them could probably be battery electric vehicles, and the other 20% might need to be plug-in hybrid or extended range to go for long distance occasional routes. And with the right fleet management characteristics, you could provide the same level of service as today's internal combustion engine taxis that are way over engineered for the 2-minute or 10-minute drive to town, 10 miles an hour. So you could really increase the adoption of electric vehicles with this mobility as a service. So people often ask me, this sounds really compelling and logical and straightforward and provides a lot of benefits, but what are the challenges to this? And I would argue the challenges are not so much technical as they are appropriate financing and organizational structure within cities. If you look at the cities today, they spend quite a lot on public transport, some of which is very inefficient, especially if you look at suburbs and off-peak hours. You have transit systems that are not very cost-effective and not very energy efficient and environmental on a passenger driving basis. If you could right-size the fleet with smaller vehicles that are shared, maybe part of a public-private transport system, you could provide a much better level of service at all times of the day at a lower cost and with a lower energy footprint. Another aspect that should be considered is real estate. The cost of a parking spot in the centre of London or the centre of any major city can be over $1,000 a square metre. So a parking spot that may be 15 or 20 square metres in area, you're talking $20,000 there. So just one parking spot has a significant real estate value associated with it. If you don't need 10% of the real estate for parking anymore, because you're using shared vehicles that are smaller, that are autonomous, you could save a lot of real estate and monetize that and pay for the fleet of vehicles, potentially pay for the infrastructure upgrades for charging and for communications. So I think that with some creative financing and with the right organizational structures within cities, and these are not easy problems to solve, as you can imagine, there is a way to think about solving this without requiring technological breakthroughs. And I think the bottom line for mobility in the future, it needs to be door-to-door mobility for everybody, irrespective of age, income, or ability, in a way that is sustainable for the environment. And I think we're getting there with these technologies. Qualcomm is a leader in connected technologies. We're developing technologies that will enable autonomous vehicles, and we're certainly very strongly supportive of electric vehicles with wireless charging technology. Thank you.